sitting out today with Michael Toma. This is part of our 50K or 50,000 subscribers special or party for this week. I said I would go live every single day of the week. I didn't go live yesterday, but today we're live with Michael Toma. And we're going to keep this informal. We're going to keep this like really light. And you can always ask questions in the chat. We'll chat a bit about things that concern us and that we want to talk about. Then you can ask your question in the chat below, and we'll be happy to answer your questions during this live stream. So, Michael, how's it going today?
Yeah, great to be here. It's a holiday in the U.S., but of course, as traders, we're always working, looking at charts, back testing. Great days to do those things.
Awesome. Let me go with this, and it's something that we didn't really plan, but we want to keep it informal, like we said, like a chat with different traders. So you can just ask a question in the chat whenever you have a question. Put in the chat. We'll be able to cover it pretty soon after. Michael, what's been new in your trading recently? What's been something that you were trying to work on?
Good question. I'm always trying to open the doors to new opportunities and new, variations to do. Particularly, I'm looking more at some of the, in addition to forex and options and futures, I'm trying to expand more into the commodity space. Some of these commodities are starting to rock, like oil, gold is struggling. The cryptos are always moving, but they're a little violent, too violent for my risk parameters. So some of the commodities are doing well. The back testing is doing well. I've always dabbled in them, and I'm looking at now as an additional income stream. So I guess the point here is it's not about oil, gold, or commodities, but it's, I guess, the mindset of always trying to push yourself further, always trying to find some open doors, and always find different revenue streams. So what better to do on a holiday, right?
Pretty cool. Yeah, and it's something I think is really massive and important to be able to work on different ways to increase your skill, increase your mindset, of course, increase your like your income streams. But sometimes you try to work on things that might not be useful or things that you don't really have an edge in, right? So I don't know, in the past I've tried to work on different things that ended up being things that you didn't want to work on necessarily, that you could delegate to someone else, for example, or things that you didn't really see any value once you started to work on it. Could you give
Right.
us an example of how that happened and things that you kind of left off over the years that you didn't really want to work on?
Oh, I mean, there's a stack of old notebooks just filled with stuff that didn't work. But that's part of the success process too. I mean, failure or just finding out what doesn't work, including what I just talked about. Some of the commodity back testing and things like that. Even if the back testing works well, it may not suit my lifestyle. It may not suit my ability to accept different types of income stream levels. So it's all just kind of, this game is a lot about throwing darts at a wall. Finds what interests you, but there's so many things that will make it go wrong. But that's just part of the process. I personally enjoy it. In addition to that, and I wanted to mention too is, one of the things outside of trading is I'm trying to work better on is become a better coach. I think I add a lot of value, and I think we've talked about this before. But we could always do better, and I want more success stories. I enjoy the feedback we're getting. It's just we want more. We do this for a reason. We don't have to do it, but we do it because we enjoy it, we love it, and we love to see the satisfaction of others being successful. Like, that is our definition of success in coaching, and I'm always finding a way to just better my craft in that space.
Awesome, cool. For you guys in chat who asked if you're live, we are live. So this is live on YouTube. It's going to be a replay eventually, so live might not be live right now. But if you're seeing the chat, then that's live. And then it's going to be a replay after if you see the comment section. But yeah, let's talk about. We had a story with you in the past, and we featured kind of your progression to becoming a full-time trader, what you had to go through, things you had to be able to work on, and not being able to be a coach, which is pretty cool. What's your motivation for wanting to help people and coach people? Because you always hear sometimes people say, "Well, if you make money trading, why you have to kind of help people do the same thing, or why do you have to charge people for coaching?" What's your motivation to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a few things, and I always respect questions like that. Like, if you're doing so well as a trader, why coach? I think when you get to a point in trading where it's kind of so consistent, and I'll even use the term boring to an extent. I mean, do I want my legacy to be, what did this guy do for a living? Well, he clicked the mouse button, all day. I don't know. For me, it does more to that, more things to this. And I got to tell you, have a really good trading day, and then you have a student that passes a challenge the same day. I'm telling my wife about little Jose from Spain who passed the challenge. I mean, like, I'm not even talking about my trading day. It gives me a lot of satisfaction, and I'll even say it gives me a lot of fulfillment, more fulfillment than the trading, itself and things. Of course, trading provides a nice living, but certainly, I think that balance is good. And quite honestly, I think Etienne, I think you'll agree with this too. We're better. We become better traders when we coach. It's amazing what the students can tell the teacher.
Mm. And I totally agree with your reasons. For me, it's the same thing as the contribution aspect, being able to actually help people. Like it didn't have to be on YouTube and do videos and stuff, but it just makes it more rewarding, more fulfilling to be able to do so and give back to people. I totally agree
Yeah,
with that. That makes sense.
totally great. Totally great.
So, what would you say was the hardest part of your story to becoming a trader? I know we discussed that before, but what are some things that you have to struggle with a lot to be able to get to the point where you are today?
Yeah, I think for me it was. I mean, my specialty is in risk management, so that was one area I knew I can really add value and really be my edge compared to others. So I didn't have a problem with that. My question was, or my challenge was, once I started getting that edge and implementing it and seeing it consistently in my trading, seeing it consistently in my equity curve, now I have to graduate in size. And the first few ladders were okay, and it was great. I mean, bigger risk, bigger reward. But it got to the point where I was plateauing. And I said, if I'm really going to become the trader I want to be, to really live the lifestyle I want to be, is I have to continue to graduate these step ladders. And I just couldn't do it. I was finding it to be I was trading differently, taking stops earlier. I was changing the methodology that was making me successful. So what do you do when you have a flat tire? You call someone to help you fix the flat, or your car breaks down. Um, some things you just can't do by yourself, and I think part of the success process is recognizing areas that you need help in and getting someone like a coach or somebody, a specialist, to help you. So, I got a trader, psychologist, and I got a success team, and it was the best investment I ever made, and it got me through those humps. Quite honestly, I still don't think I'm there. I still think I can push it, but it got me to those levels. So that was a big challenge that I had to overcome.
Cool. How do you find the right coach for you? Is it just a matter of how you click with that person? Is that even important? Or I know a lot of people are trying to find coaches or they're trying to find a course, and those are like everywhere left and right. They could pick pretty much anyone they find online. How do you pick a good coach, in your opinion?
Yeah, there definitely has to be a rapport. I mean, we do our, one-on-one sessions and stuff, and a lot of times what I try to do in the first few sessions is this person workable, but also am I the right person for them? And there's a lot of going on there. I ask a lot of personal, family stuff, and what is your life like? And I ask those questions, and I think some of the traders are like, "Well, why aren't you asking me about like equity curves and charts and strategy?" Because I want to see if we're going to be a good fit, and we have alternatives as well. For me, yeah, I searched for things. Some were great success coaches, which I've always found value in my coaching. People who coached me, but maybe not in the areas that I wanted. But hey, you know what? It didn't help my trading, but it really helped me in maybe other revenue streams, or it led to people that I do business with now in the future. Quite honestly, one of the top coaches I have now is actually specializes in poker coaching. But I have a good rapport. He's really focused on my mindset. And I just find that incredibly valuable. And there's a lot of math that he coaches me on. So in my world, in trading, there's a lot of math involved, particularly in the option space. And I need that skill set as opposed to a quote trading coach. That's where I am now. Who knows what happens in the future? But that's been a great big help. So I think the rapport is a big deal for me. And for everyone, I would suggest that too.
Good point. Good point. And we see people have questions all the time. I think we'll take a few questions here from the chat. And if you have any question about what Michael discussed so far, you can always comment below in the chat. We'll be happy to have answer your question while we are live. And I'll
Yeah.
send a replay after for sure. We had a question here about, is it easy to become a market wizard? I know Michael would probably agree in the answer, but you go ahead.
Well, I mean, I've been in a few books, but not the Market Wizard ones. I think there's a big stack ahead of me in the Jack Swagger world. But uh, thank you. That's it's a very humbling question. Is it easy? No. That's why most people don't get there. Um, and it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of effort. As coaches too, we bring a lot to the table, but at the end of the day, it's up to the individual trader to really put the time and effort and follow the plan. And a lot of things I see, especially in the early stages of developing traders, is you know, did you do your homework? And does this, like, I don't know, corner cutting type mentality? I think with a lot of individuals, everybody wants it quick now. That um, it just doesn't come easy. It's a skill, it's a craft, just like a surgeon, that takes experience. We'll get you there, but you have to have patience and the willing and determination to make it happen. Are you that person? Ask yourself those questions if you want to get into this crazy world of trading.
Yeah, and it's not just about is it easy or not. It takes time to do that. Like it could be easy, but it still takes many years to do that anyway. And for
Yeah,
some
I
people, it
mean,
can be easier than
it's not
others for sure. But
yeah,
yeah,
sure. I mean, it's not about, so do I enter at the moving average, or do I wait for a candle?
yeah.
It, this does a lot about getting to know the nuances of markets, and that does take time. Coaching will definitely expedite that process, but you got to put the time in.
A lot of it you have to figure out yourself. You have to go in front of the chart yourself to see how price behaves and become the master at what you do. Anyway,
That's it. Yeah,
pretty cool. We had a question here about we're trading the. This is about the diversification. So
yeah.
from Ryan, we're trading the same strategy over different time frames also be considered diversifying. Let's say you trade the weekly, the daily. You can trade the forward chart, the 1 hour. Is it diversifying or is it all the same thing, in your opinion?
I would say, I mean, anytime it's a good question actually. I remember this from Ryan. So every time anytime you mix an element or one of the facets of your strategy, I believe it is diversifying. I actually had to think about this too for a bit, um, earlier, and when Ryan asked it in a previous session, I would say it is. Anytime you mess with that kind of thing, Etienne, what are your thoughts on that too? Same parameters, everything, but you start changing the time frames. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, time frame I would say it's the same thing. It's not diversifying because they're still on the same pair, the same thing. So you could have like two trades open at the same time and they would both be losses, probably, unless things are really, really kind of rare and moving in different ways in different time frames. But I
Yeah.
would think because it's the same pair or the same index or whatever, it would be the same. Not so much diversification.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. And again, we're talking about extremes here. If we're like, if Ryan is trading, off a daily and a weekly, and I'm scalping on a 3 minute, there's probably going to be two different
Right.
same pair.
Yeah.
But as those time frames get a little closer and closer, you're right. The parity becomes, or say the alpha becomes, more normalized for sure.
Hmm.
Now that
Cool.
we've confused Ryan even more, let's go to the next question.
All right. But
Thanks, Ryan.
let's think back on this. So what would you consider to be a good way to diversify first? Like, what's something you can start with that's not too complex or not too closely related to what you already trade?
Yeah, I mean, good question. The first thing is kind of look high level and work your way down. So a lot of people think correlation is, well, trading forex, but U.S. dollar and then non-U.S. dollar. Think bigger. I mean, you know, equities, equity futures versus forex. I mean, look at some of those things where, and there's correlation. You can Google them, and correlation pairs and stuff, where there's a very low correlation, like a zero point 0.1 versus like 1.0 is complete correlation, where zero point 0.1 is like is nothing. So look at those totally different facets of underlyings. Then work your way down, even, and then you get to the point where, okay, maybe you're looking just in the forex space. Your correlation is going to be, you know, it's going to be higher just by default of the fact that you're trading in the same space. So keep that in mind. Look to branch out if you're really concerned about correlation. The other question asked is, what is the concern about correlation? Is that a concern to begin with? If you're trading multiple pairs at once and stuff, it may be something of a risk management consideration as opposed to correlation risk.
What are your thoughts on diversifying with the same strategy? So, would you go in different markets and use the same exact strategy, or would you try to either come up with something new or find a strategy purely for that market?
I mean, my strategies, I throw them like I'm doing back testing some of the commodities. I'm using current strategies to start. It's a lot of this is throw the stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Then from there, I'll kind of work my way through. and then maybe pick apart different parts of the strategy. But initially, I have what I have. They're my bread and butter. They should work in most type of markets, like the core things. Then refining them, they may help me with an equity curve. But I'm gonna get me. I'm gonna use what got me here, and then I'll take it from there.
Cool. Awesome. I just want to just a point here in the chat. So when we discuss becoming a market wizard, it doesn't really mean an X amount of return per year or per month, whatever. So
Hmm.
sure, you could see that a trader who make like 100% over 3 years is
Yeah,
good, per year over 3 years is good, but that doesn't show who the trader is. Like, it could just be lucky. He could have been placing stupid trades that didn't make any sense, or it could just be, yeah, it could just be luck. It could be something else. It could be one trade that he put all his money into, and then he won that trade in himself for the year.
yeah,
So it's more about the routine, the principle, the thing that makes the people successful, not just the percent that they make or the return they have.
yeah.
What are your
And,
thoughts,
and show
Michael?
me someone with a small account with a good solid equity curve, shows good discipline, good risk management. I'll tell you this, if they're not a market wizard, they will be if they continue that. And really the difference between that person and a quote unquote market wizard, maybe from the Jack Schwager books and stuff, is they just the size of their trade, the capital itself. And that's probably one of the easier components to rectify, especially in today's world. So um, consistency, discipline, that's a market wizard in my book. Those are the people that I can take from A to B and make sure they are really successful in what they want to do in achieving their goals. So yeah, 100% a year three. It's those are just numbers.
Cool. Michael, what are your thoughts on using fundamentals, news, and the market sentiment?
Um, what's my opinion? Shut the television off. Okay, totally get rid. Yeah, my opinion is the absolute worthless garbage. Now, if there is a Fed announcement on in the morning, am I aware of that? Yes. Um, but and it may restrict me from doing things based on my rules. So I want to know, be aware of when things are happening. But I think this is the reason why we all get so crazed up. And how is it working? I mean, we're all these traders that are really successful based on fundamentals and the talking heads on TV 8 hours a day. I think it's personally, I'm going to be really blunt about this. Absolute worthless garbage. I mean, how's that for clarity? And actually hurts your trading overall. So avoid it
Yeah,
at
good
all
point.
costs. We have I work with a trading room in Chicago, and they do not have. They are by policy do not have financial news on. The only reason they have a TV is because some of the guys like to watch college sports. During like March Madness.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool also. Yeah, totally agree with that. Now,
Yeah,
some people are going to use fundamentals and they're going to love it and they're going to make money out of it. But for Michael and I, we don't. We just don't use that. That's not our
yeah.
core thing. So, but I
Everything's in
understand
the
your point. So,
charts.
Michael.
Everything's
Yeah,
price
I agree with that.
is
Yeah,
it's everything's there. You don't need to know anything
yeah,
else.
perfect. A question here from Andre, who was asking about the. So it was in process for 2 years after watching Mark Lewis webinar. He's been trying to create a mechanical system to eliminate emotions. Any advice on this? He's not finding any guidance. Now, Michael will for sure give you some advice on that. That's what Michael and I do. We help people with that kind of trading. That's what we both trade, so we know how to do that. Michael, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, when you talk about Mark Douglas, I mean, you're hitting a nerve with me. That's my space, and that type of psychology and using mechanicals, eliminating emotion. When I've talked to professional psychologists, they eliminate is a really difficult word in the emotional space. Um, so there's technology that can help you, but part of me says a lot of the emotion is dealing with loss of a trade, loss of money, loss of things like loss of capital. So if you lower that size, the emotions are more manageable. So and then as you graduate and you become more comfortable and more confident with your strategies, you can, like as we talked about before, up your size, and then you're still going to hit a plateau. So yes, the answer is clearly is yes. I think coaching is very, very important in this regard, and we've dealt with a lot of traders who have this thing to to deal with. But I would say yes. Eliminate is you're dealing with a human condition, so eliminate may be tough, but to overcome it and manage it, by all means. I mean, that's what successful traders do.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Like Michael said, of course, you cannot eliminate. You can just deal with them, learn to use them to your advantage. Sometimes emotion tells something good that we have
Yeah,
to know. It's like a signal for something that you have to work on.
yeah,
So in that point of view, it's a good thing. You just have to know how to deal with it and then work on it properly. Now, what were your thoughts of putting together a mechanical system? Something that you don't need to look at the chart, like you don't need to look at something on a chart that's discretionary. Something that can be seen two ways. Like you have clear rules. How would you go about creating a system like this?
yeah. I mean, I'm very rule based, so I try to be very mechanical, project manager like. I used that term before, where I'm here just executing a plan. So that is by nature mechanical. There are some nuances I'll add to it, particularly with trader psychology or where traders are trapped or spaces where short covering will come into play. I mean, that's purely emotion driven. But yeah, I mean, you start with the mechanics. Let the numbers drive these mechanical strategies to do it. So that would involve back testing, forward testing, um, and at the same time find something that I hate to use the term you're comfortable with, because if comfort is going to give me A results and non-comfort is going to give me like perfect results or the ones I really want, I have to adapt. I mean, if a surgeon told me, "Hey, Mike, here are the tools that you have to do to perform the surgery," and I said, "Well, could I go down the street and pick up a hammer?" He would, probably throw me out the door. So, using specific tools and mechanics, I think, is certainly viable in the way to go. That's kind of my space. I'm more project manager like.
So you would say you deal with what you have or what you know already, and try to put it together into making it profitable in some way.
Yeah, yeah, but I think I'm going to challenge maybe the status quo answer here and say, like I mentioned about the surgeon giving me all the tools and all the instruction of what I need to successfully complete this, surgery, so to speak. Why would I start thinking about what's comfortable, what's this, or what I like? I mean, go with what they're doing, and I think what traders need to do to really become successful is we talk about what time frame do you feel comfortable with? Well, now, how about asking yourself, what are the exact methodologies that this successful trader is doing that I need to maybe adjust myself, as opposed to just finding something, that I'm comfortable with. Now, again, I say, if I want comfortable, I'll pet my dogs.
I like that. Awesome. Yeah. So I agree with you in some part on this, in the sense that it's good to have someone that you can rely on for kind of getting inspiration, I guess, kind of seeing what they do and then mirroring that a little bit in yourself. But
Hmm,
I see a lot of people trying to copy other people, trying to copy what they do, finding the exact strategy this person used. Like my coach using this EMA or this indicator with this setting, and I'm using that therefore. I think
yeah,
that's a problem. That's something that people are doing that they're just gonna stay consistent with that because they always have something new
yeah.
that they can try and implement. So
Yeah. Oh,
that's the other
absolutely. And
side of the
like
thing that you have to.
life gets in the way too. I mean, you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
do that on a scalper if you're working full
of
time.
course, of
But
course.
the tools itself, I guess my point is, and it's a good point, Etienne. I'm glad you clarified. But just be open to these type of things that other traders are doing. It's like, I just ask you that, as opposed to this is why I want to do, this is how I do it, and that's it. And I see a lot of people trying to force feed something they psychologically think works, and maybe they curve fit a back test to like almost want a comfortable result to say this works. But just be open to. I mean, this is as coaches, be open to some of the success models that others do, and then we'll try and. Our job is to try and conform that together. A nice blend in the middle. Yeah.
Cool. We had a question here about when you hit the plateau. So I've had a situation myself in the past, not so long ago, indeed. What are some things that you've worked on with your coach to go through that plateau?
Etienne, well, how about you go first, and I'll
Yeah, sure.
follow. Yeah.
So what helped me was, so I just want to point out first that I think getting a coach there is really important. I got a coach for that, a psychology coach. Michael got a coach as well. We discussed that before. For me, it was about understanding what were my patterns, my triggers, what were the things that would get me to places where I would lose money over time, or I would be able to not kind of graduate and go up in size and go to that to be able to scale up. So we work a lot on like meditation, breathing exercise, how to deal with in that moment when that happened, how to deal with it, how to also kind of reprogram your brain to not having these patterns anymore that came up. And these are usually patterns like money, patterns with not being good enough overall, patterns with maybe that not being good enough. And we had to kind of go back and reprogram that, work on that a lot. So mainly visualization, breathing exercise were the main things, and some journaling as well. So that's kind of what helped me to get to that next level. How about you, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, all that and the above. My coach tried to, I guess, what do they call it, scared straight, like to shock me into it, is where they try to put you into scenarios, and I had to list all the scenarios that, like, worst case scenarios, and what would be the impact of those worst case scenarios. And I mean, really bad. I mean, like, you know, losing accounts, losing like managed customers that I managed, and legal actions and all these type of things. And then it was kind of took the Tony Robbins kept thinking is 10 years from now, would that be a concern to you? I go, no, I'd bounce right back. Like there wouldn't be a problem. So the psychological shock to me was think of all the worst case scenarios, and really what they dissected was they really weren't that bad scenarios. I mean, they weren't the end of the world. So I mean, having a bad week in trading or getting stopped out when I shouldn't have, I mean, those are all things that, like, not even 10 years from now, 2 weeks from now, I look at my journal, I don't even remember that trade. So it was kind of putting loss and fear in perspective of life. They also talked about some of the things about, like, really, maybe hurt you personally in the past, or just really bad moments. And you say, you know what, like my coach was a cancer survivor. He said, you think I care about a losing trade? I survived cancer. What do I care? But he laughed about that. But that's kind of a poignant moment where putting trading in perspective of all the other things, important things in life, it gets you through a lot of these little hurdles.
Good point. And that seems really interesting. Also, it's not something I've seen many times before, but that looks interesting as well.
Yeah.
To be working that way with a coach. We have a question here about how to stay motivated through a losing streak.
Uh, yeah, actually, I mean, I think I mentioned before, failure is part of the success process, and a losing streak is not failure. Losing streaks are part of the success process. I mean, if it was just solid equity curve up, I mean, everybody would be throwing their hands into this business. So, um, one, I think it's a great time to take a pause. One, recognize that it's part of it. Losing is part of it, and a lot of this is just math. But what we want to do is, and this is really when a coach comes into play. I mean, when you have these pullbacks and you're starting to doubt your strategy, starting to doubt things, dissect and identify the diagnosis. What is the root cause of this? Is it just normalization? Is it the math? I mean, even people with 60, 70% win rates, they're going to have these losing streaks where the 30% seems to come in bunches. It happens. It tests you. But is there something that's beyond the math that's causing this on your end? This is really where a coach comes in to really help you dissect that, and we identify it, create action plans, really getting into the psychological risk management here of identification, assessment, and control, and getting those things, identifying, getting them out of the way. And then that next little plateau, a losing streak, will be less severe. And a lot of times with good traders, a lot of it just becomes down to math. And it's just the math that comes into it. But more often than not, you really have to address those ideas, and it helps you become a better trader ultimately.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with you on the fact that the main part is understanding that that's normal, and that if you watch your strategy long term, you will have these losses that are long, these long periods of losses.
Mhm.
And the other thing is sometimes we tend to increase your losses by mistakes we make when you have losses. So you might have only 5 losses, but then the next one you start to doubt yourself, you start to take more and more risk, or less risk, or you take the different trades that you're not supposed to take, and that leads to more and more losses. So you got to be
Yeah,
able to find that and pinpoint that and cut that to get back on track. I think that's something I've faced many
absolutely.
times in the past. That was really big, but once you can figure it out and you know when things derail, you can start to work on how to fix it.
Yeah. When I do trade journal audits, when we're coaching and I'll do trade journal auditing, one of the first things I look at is how was their trading compliance compared to the plan after a series of losses. I want to see that type of decision making compared to when they were having a solid a win streak. When I see that dissection break up, that's the red flag from an auditor to start coaching, identify, and do that. That's one of the first things I look at when I journal audit.
Cool. We had a question here, and this is something that we talk about recently, Michael. I'm happy we get this question. So, if you guys don't know, we have a program that Michael and I did together about prop firms, where we teach people how to get funded with prop firms such as FTMO and other names as well. So we support people along the way. We have them go through the process of getting funded with these prop firms and scaling up as well after that. But we started to see some prop firms that, like, now more and more are popping up. There's prop firms everywhere now. What is your opinion, Michael, on some of these platforms? And do you think that the goal of all of them is to be good, or are there some things to avoid? Some structures, some ways they do things that people should try to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, we work with a lot of the top ones. We vetted a lot of things. We think it's a great. I mean, there's four components to, I think, to really becoming a successful trader. It's bankroll, knowledge, risk management, and discipline. Bankroll is capital, and that was always the first one. Was always seen to be like a brick wall. That is now much more loose and available. Um, we totally embrace this process. Are there rules? Sure, they're going to be providing you capital. If you manage capital outside, it's the same type of thing. They're providing you capital to manage, and there's an opportunity for you. They're going to come with certain rules, particularly on the risk management side. But we really embrace it. That side of the business has come very far. A lot of the small players have been weeded out, and I know there's new players coming in. You have to do due diligence, but I think it's a great opportunity to overcome that capital restriction. Just play by the rules, know what you're doing, and again, have people and teams to support you during that journey. I think it's really important. We found the success to be much higher in that regard when you have support along the way.
Cool. Now, some of these platforms, a lot of them are good for sure. Some are not so good. So you got to do your research. You got to see what makes sense for you, and ideally pick a platform who's been there for some time. Not a new one that's popping up like in the last week or so. But yeah, look at what they do. Look at what makes sense. If you can contact them, always better. I think those are the main ways to look at if a platform is legit or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Do your own due diligence, and again, shameless plug, but we'll help you get there as well. We'll iron out those little nuances to see if also too, ATM will make a point is that sometimes a certain prop firm, whether it's the time duration to have a challenge or the capital, you want to find the one that's the right fit for you. A lot of times the trader is maybe not successful just because they run out of time during the challenge, and really having a challenge that had given them more time to go through their
Yeah.
little ebbs and flows. So a lot of times it was just like was it right car, wrong engine kind of thing. Everything worked out. They just didn't pick the right one that was suitable for them.
Good point. Awesome. I want to speak time, Michael. We have a promotion starting tomorrow for the program we have together, the Ultimate Profit Program, which is going to launch tomorrow. So we have, if you guys want to join, we have a special discount. Don't join now because it's going to be a higher price. And that way, you get access to Michael's coaching, his support, his feedback along the way, plus a course about how to be able to do it right the first time and get funded the first time around with these platforms. And we have some questions, but we'll try to get back to them as soon as we can, maybe tomorrow in another live stream. I'll keep them safe for tomorrow. Thank you, Michael, for being here. I appreciate your time once again. And we'll catch you guys back here pretty soon.
Sounds good, D.
Ciao.